Resume. Okay. So now it's start recording. So good morning, everyone. So this is our first class. Okay. And the course syllabus and some other information, they are on our course website because not everyone is here. So I'm not going to go over there, and you can read it pretty easily. So what our lecture going to do, I will go straight to our course material. And I know quite a number of students here already took my data analytic class. So the first 3 week, 2 week or 3 week, I will see, okay, how fast our class moves. It's going to be review the major information from the data analytic class to get you back to Python and some package like NumPy and the Pandas. And after that, we are going to move into the machine learning topics. So for those of you, you already took a data analytic class, and you may feel like a lot of repetitive materials from last semester, okay. But some of you may not take that class, so some of the materials may be new to you. I believe everyone here should already know Python, is it? So all this semester we are going to use Python. Okay, we are going to use Python. So all of the machine learning package are also going to be done in Python because that's the most popular one. So I will go right to share screen before. Share screen, not this one. It's share screen. Okay, so can you all see my screen?
Yes, Professor.
Okay, okay, yes, good. So, so I'm going to use Jupyter Notebook. And Jupyter Notebook, you can, if you install Anaconda, and it's come with Anaconda, okay. And so we're going to use Jupyter Notebook to do my lectures. But regarding your assignments, you are free to use any IDE, okay. So that's not a major concern here. But Jupyter Notebook, I like it because it's easy for me to do lectures, okay, because it also have some explanations. And one nice thing for Jupyter Notebook later on, like for your project, is you can put a lot of notes and you can publish it pretty easily, okay. So that's regarding our platform we are going to use for my part of lectures. And so for Python, is it, so over here, I just try to review Python programming language. So the easiest you want to see some output, is it? So here is print. So it's pretty similar as other language if you learned, like Java, is it? So here is, you print something, whatever you want to put, a printout, you can put in quotation, but later on you will also see there are some formatting, then you need to put the formatting parameter in a pair of curly brackets, is it? And use a comma and then spare the parameter, okay, you want to output. So that's pretty easy. And over here in Jupyter Notebook, is it's organized by cell, okay. So this cell is a coding cell, and in Jupyter Notebook, if you take a look like this cell, so for the coding cell, you can run it, as it you see here, you can just run the single cell. Okay, you can also run all of the cell above or all of the cells. Okay, so this is one kind of cell. And for the next cell, like this cell, is it? And this cell, we don't have that wrong button, is it? So this cell, we call it markdown cell. Okay, markdown cell is pretty similar as HTML. So you can do a lot of formatting things. So if I double click it, so this is in the editing mode of the markdown cell. And over here, I also have some markdown cell cheat sheet how to you do the formatting. So after class, if you're interested in this, and you can take a look. Is it like over here? And is it so you can do a lot of like, it's pretty similar as HTML. Okay, so this is regarding markdown cell. It's mostly for presentation. Okay, and the next we already explained it, so it's pretty simple as the print. And for this one, annotation, yeah. Okay, for this one over here. Okay, so in Python, this is called a variable. A variable is it, but it's different from other languages. There is no type. You don't need to specify it's an integer or it's a string. And the variable can change in your program for the type. So the variable totally depends on the right side. So this is right side. Okay, the right side. So objects, and in Python we call all of this object. And for this square bracket later on, we are going to see, and separated by comma, is there something? This is called a list. So a list is kind of like an array, okay, but it can grow. So it can be used to store a number of things. And over here, the question mark, is it? For the question mark is you want to know what the variable is it? So if you do variable question mark, it will tell you some detailed information regarding this variable. Okay, so that's in Python how you assign some objects to a variable. Okay, and in Jupyter Notebook, if you type like in this case B and then dot, is it? And then you use the tab key, then it will give you some hint or whatever related fields or functions with these objects. Okay, so it can give you some, we call it context. Okay, the next part is the Python function. Python function, okay. For Python functions, different from other language like Java or C++ or C#, is it? And for the Python function, it starts with DEF. So you always need this. And the function doesn't need a return type. So in Python, we don't specify variable type. We don't specify function return type. But you still have parameter. Okay, same thing, the parameter doesn't have type. And for Python function definition, you need to have the colon. So instead of like other function, we enclose with a pair of curly brackets. Is it in Python? We don't. We use colon. Okay, and then the function body. So in other language, it doesn't matter you do indentation or not indentation. It's because it's all of the coding block in other programming language is identified by the pair of brackets, is it? But in Python, be careful, okay? Also Python, so all block. So all sorts of block, is it a for block or if block, is it loop block, or over here it's function blocks, is it? So all blocks, no parentheses. So no parentheses. instead we use what? Use indentation. Okay, so over here, did you see the function body is indentation? So this function is pretty simple. It just returns the summation of the two parameters, is it? But you need to do indentation. If you don't indent, then that's not considered as part of the function. So when you run, you will have error reported, is it? Okay, so that's the function, Python function. Pretty straightforward. And then over here, you just plug in that function, is it? To the print, and you want to see 5 plus 8 is what? So you plug in with arguments. So this is similar as other programming language, okay? And over here, it's just some command line, so that's not important to us. So we can skip that part. And the next one is show how we read and open files. Okay, we can skip temporarily because today we don't need to. Later on, we have a dedicated section to discuss about file processing, because this semester we are going to deal with file all the time. So let's see, erase. I need to erase all. I don't know why I cannot do erase all. Oh, I just do clear all, okay. Okay, so next, let's move on to the next cell, okay. And in this cell, it's the same thing as this, so we define another function. And pay attention to Python function, because in our first assignment, I'm going to ask you to write a Python function. So this is a function. This function has 3 parameters. So remember, Python function, no return type, no parameter type. Okay, and you need to have colon, and you need to have indentation. And over here, then we call this function. And this function, because it returns value, so you assign it to a variable. Okay, and also, we also see over here, all these variables, is it no type, no data type. Okay, and in Python variables type determined by the right side object. Okay, so it's completely determined by this. So in this case, the first 2 are integer, second is floating, is it? So it's completely defined by that, okay, determined by that. So that's one of the major difference from other programming languages. So Python is not a strictly typed programming language, not like Java, okay, or C++ or C#. They are strongly typed programming language. And what the next one shows us in Python, and also over here, also pay attention, okay, because later on in your homework, you are also going to use this. So if you want to take input from standard input from keyboard, etc., so here you can call the input function, okay? And but whatever takes the input returns what? It's a string. It's a string, is it? So here we want to have some numbers, so you need to convert it, is it? So this age is a variable. Its type is what? Is an integer. Okay. So if you want to get input from keyboard, you can call input function. Just remember it's a string. And then you need to convert to integer here. Is it? You just call this int, okay, to convert it. Okay, so that's this first note. Are there any questions about the first note?
No.
Okay, then I will move on to the second note. Let me find out first. Okay, this is second note. Yeah, the second note. Okay, here is the second note. Okay, so in the second note, I also have some side notes here. It's first is about Python heavily use indentation. Okay, instead of the curly brackets. Okay, so no curly bracket. So all kinds of block. Okay, so just keep this in mind. The second importance in Python is Python, it's object model. So what object is said every number, string, data structure, function, class, module, okay, and etc. They are considered as object, okay, object. And like I explained, is that variable doesn't have type when you define a variable. Is it's purely depend on the right side object type. Okay, and when we pass object to a function, it's passed by reference. Okay. Okay, so that's some general information. So first, let's take a look over here. So this A is a variable, is it? And the right side, we have this square brackets, and we have comma, comma, is it? And over here, we have some numbers, is it? So this A, so this is called a Python list. It's used a lot, okay? So you use a list to what? It's kind of like array, okay, like in other programming language. So you can use a list to store a number of items. And later on, we will also see, okay, for Python, the list can hold different type. So it's not homogeneous, okay? So it's a heterogeneous. So it can hold different type of data. Items. But in this case, this is homogeneous, all integer, is a 1, 2, 3, is it? Okay, so that's a list. And then next, what we do is we say, okay, B equals to A. So B is a variable, is it? Then in this case, this means both A and B point to the same list, okay? So B is just an alias of A, okay? So here, be careful, both A and B point to this same list. And then we said, okay, for list, it can grow. List can grow, not like array, is it? Array is a fixed size, but list can grow. So list can grow over here. Suppose I want to add 5 to the end of the list, is it? And then you can just do the list dot append function. You can call append function. So then after this, B is what? B is 1, 2, 3, 5, is it? And the B is 1, 2, 3, 5. A and B point to the same place, is it? So A is also 1, 2, 3, 5. Okay, so be careful. Okay, so both, even though you only change on B, but you still change on A. And then next we have a function, is it? So this function, we call it a change list. It has 2 parameters, is it? And what it does is it's append the second parameter to the list, is it? To the list. Okay, and then you can call change, you plug in with A and 6. A is a list. Right now, what A is? A has what? Has 1, 2, 3, 5, is it? You call it, A is plugged in, is it? And so basically over here, 6 is also going to be added, is it? So 6 is that, how about B? B is also, because both A and B point to this same list. So B will also have 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. Okay, so what over here it shows is Python function parameter when you pass It's past reference.